Episode 4 of Murder Drones just dropped, and it was a wild ride, so let's talk about it all. My name is Drone Cut, hit that subscribe button, and if you love Murder Drones, we are still running a sale over at the Streamly shop where you can buy an autographed print of your favorite Murder Drones character. We've got prints of Uzi signed by Elsie Lovelock, Designation N signed by Michael Kovac, pictures of Jay signed by Nola Klopp, and the Absolute Solver voiced by Alana Fitzgerald. Link in the pinned comment down below, get them while you still can, and if you haven't seen our interview with the cast, make sure you check that out too. This episode opened with the students on a bus out of the bunker and headed towards a camp as a sort of school field trip. While other murder drones are presumably out there, as well as Tessa, the gang doesn't know that, and thus it seems safe enough to go out now that N and V are on the side of the drones. I say this, but as the episode clearly demonstrates, lots of characters can be killed off, and then V can just blame it on her hunger without any real consequences. An interesting choice considering the whole point of being in the bunker was not to get eaten. Now, Uzi apparently wanted this trip, but because her teacher doesn't get paid enough to make him want to educate the students, he uses it as an excuse to just not teach, so the whole class has to come along for a camping trip, but Uzi herself is out there to dig up some clues. In a flashback, we see that Uzi's mother Nori was a lot like Uzi and got really involved with the disassembly drones in some way. Uzi's father explains that after the great explosion that destroyed all the humans, he didn't notice that some of the drones suddenly had strange numbered collars on them. One of these collars, or bracelets, was passed down from Nori to Uzi, who likely thought it was just a fashion accessory, but which seems to be tied to the Absolute Solver. After their battle with Doll at the prom, Uzi picked up Doll's bracelet that had the same shape on it but with a different number, 48, with this bracelet seemingly belonging to Doll's mother the way that Uzi's belonged to Nori. I don't think this is a coincidence, and I think it confirms that something shady happened between the drones and the humans that caused the drones to rebel and create the explosion of Copper 9. Uzi's mother seemed to prophetically know the murder drones were coming for them even after this, and she bugged Khan to build a door to protect them. He likely didn't believe her early on, and that is what led to the death of Nori and many other parents before Khan eventually put the doors in place after the murder drones already attacked. Nori would begin scribbling her thoughts and visions, and Khan indicates that there is some singularity event coming that she discussed, which in tech describes when technology will become irreversibly advanced, a big theme with stories about artificial intelligence. But here seems to allude to an apocalyptic control from the ultimate AI, perhaps the Absolute Solver. Doll indicates that Uzi's Absolute Solver is far worse than her own, as Doll feels sorry for Uzi, someone she was just trying to kill, and the numbers on these bracelets, as well as on the ID card we can see Nori had, may indicate different types of the Absolute Solver code that gets transferred to its wearer, as we know it had affected Nori from the Absolute Solver revealing this to Uzi in episode 2. The camera also zooms out on her collar during this scene, indicating that it is what caused Uzi's Absolute Solver to activate. Perhaps holding both her and Doll's bracelets together is also making Uzi's development accelerate. After noticing the pattern in her and Doll's bracelets, Uzi went to her father, who was able to point out the collars in their old photos, and gave us the aforementioned lore clues. This set Uzi off to the campground where the adults presumably got the bracelets where these photos were taken. N and V help to keep the rest of Uzi's class busy while she sneaks off to find any more clues about them, but things take some crazy turns. The stress of seeing N make friends with classmates is rough on Uzi, as she is very distant from her classmates, making her worry her friendship with N isn't that special, as V indicates that N can make friends with just about anything, even just rocks. We of course eventually learn that Uzi is really special to N, and that the day felt empty without her there, but the stress of this seems to be helping to crank Uzi's heat up. When she sees her reflection in a window, it shatters, and a warning flashes on her face saying high temperature. This, of course, is what happens to disassembly drones when they don't cool off with the oil of their victims. Uzi reveals that there's leftover drone parts in her bag, something she reaches for as she overheats, but before she eats them, V interrupts. While this is a stressful interaction for Uzi, it's not the same stress as before, and she seems to cool off enough to not need to eat the robot parts, indicating that she can lean into certain things that cause her to overheat, including just stress, and thus can also lean out of them. Following this, she even begins to use her Absolute Solver to heal bugs and levitate stuff, so while that does cause her to heat up, it's definitely the stress that's hurting her the most right now. While looking at leftover papers and the like, Uzi finds some of her mother's scribblings as well as a form marking some drone for disassembly. This makes me think that one drone in particular was afraid of dying and decided to destroy the humans to save themselves, liberating the other drones in the process. The little bug that Uzi heals ends up scanning her, and after scanning the number on her mother's bracelet, opens up an interactive worker screen that was presumably meant for Nori. Among the options is an elevator, which Uzi ends up activating and questions what this little bug is. This is just one of many robot bugs we've seen that appear to be connected to Doll, who even appears for a second at the end of this scene. These little bugs appear to eat up drone corpses and oil, creating tiny little snacks that Doll can eat whenever she wants, but in this location seem to serve as sort of assistants to the worker drones who were given these bracelets. Uzi's absolute solver activates suddenly when an arrow is fired at her, but she seems to explode it into some sort of living organism, which is nuts. She runs off into a cabin in the woods where others seem to stumble upon her, but after she's gone through a horrifying transformation. While looking for her, N stumbles upon a JC Jensen training video, one that seems to be used to convert worker drones into murder drones. This is an odd thing to be here, as it would indicate the disassembly drone's plan was something in place before the humans of Copper 9 died in that explosion, perhaps even motivating the worker drones to cause that explosion. When N touches it, he sees flashes of another drone, hard to tell who, as well as of the strange circle that Uzi's mother obsessively scribbled around, confirming N was trained with such a tape after his memories were wiped. Cutting from here is a crazy scene of Uzi eating robotic remains of her classmates and coughing them up, going through her transformation. Uzi ends up going mad and sprouting wings, but they don't seem to be metallic wings like the disassembly drones had built for them. Instead, they look organic, something possible considering that she was able to turn an arrow into some alien monstrosity. She ends up murdering a few of her classmates and only ends up stopping when N comes in to talk to her. By controlling her emotions, she seemed to settle down, but it appears that she will still be battling with this internal demon, if you will. Hopefully this all means that if the murder drones are able to get their emotions in check, they won't really overheat, something I think is possible when they're paired up with the right friend, and perhaps that will end up being their real cure. Until then, however, Uzi seems to be going even deeper into her transformation, as even the sun is causing her to overheat now, something that wasn't the case at the end of episode 1 before this transformation had really started to take hold, but was true for N already as a disassembly drone. The series said it would release every 2 to 3 months, but it's really only been a month and a half, and the episode looks amazing. With that in mind, I expect the next episode to be out in mid to late May, but anything can happen, so it can always come out much later, or possibly even a bit sooner. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out the Streamly shop to get an autographed print of your favorite Murder Drones characters, and let me know what theory or lore videos you want me to cover for this episode. I definitely am going to dive deeper on the conspiracy behind these bracelets, and you know there's going to be a big esoteric mythology analysis, so look out for that too, and I'll see you guys next time.